S&C Vista underground distribution switchgear operates at high voltage. Failure to observe the precautions below will result in serious personal injury or death. Some of these precautions may differ from company operating procedures and rules. Where a discrepancy exists, users should follow their company's operating procedures and rules. This video is intended to be used in conjunction with the written instruction sheet included with your product or found online at sandc.com. Pad-mounted style Vista switchgear is fastened to a wood skid. To install your Vista switchgear, first remove the enclosure. To do this, use a pentahead socket wrench to loosen the pentahead bolts securing the hinged roofs to the enclosure. Then lift the hinged roofs upward and secure them with the holders. Next, remove the front panel from the operation compartment and the upper front panel from the termination compartment by loosening the fasteners securing the panels in place and lifting the panels upward. Set the panels aside in a safe, clean place. It's important to keep track of which side of the enclosure is termination and which side is operation after the panels are removed. The operation panel is larger. There are 8 anchor brackets for the switchgear tied to the grounding pads on the enclosure and the tank. Remove the anchor brackets from the grounding pads and retain them for later use. Now, unbolt the enclosure from the skid and remove it from the tank. Use 6-foot or longer hoist slings of equal length to prevent damage to the enclosure. 4-foot slings are acceptable only for 2-way and 3-way enclosures and tanks. Make sure the slings are arranged to distribute lifting forces equally between the lifting tabs. Avoid sudden stops and starts. Set the enclosure aside in a protected area. On the tank, if there is foam over the windows, remove it. Look in the viewing window and check the gas pressure gauge for correct pressure. Different models of Vista switchgear have slightly different gauges, but they operate the same. If the gas pressure gauge is not in the green zone, contact S&C Electric Company. See the written instructions for more information. The tank is held to the skid by 4 bolts. Remove these 4 bolts. Now, attach the slings to the lifting brackets on the tank. Be careful to not damage any wiring near the brackets. The same techniques used to lift the enclosure should be applied to the tank. When installing pad-mounted Vista switchgear with base spacers, the enclosure above the base spacer connection should be removed first. The base spacers and tank support rails remain connected to the base of the tank. The tank attached to the base spacer should be lifted as one unit during tank installation. Lift the tank above the mounting pad. Once the tank is positioned correctly above the anchor bolts, slowly lower it into place. Secure the tank to the pad using the anchor brackets provided. Warning: before energizing the switchgear, replace the shipping covers on all bushings and bushing wells with elbows or insulated protective caps. Failure to replace the shipping covers on all bushings and bushing wells with elbows or insulated protective caps can result in a flashover and serious personal injury or death. Then terminate the cables with elbows, following the elbow manufacturer's instructions. Always follow proper cable installation practices when installing cable that will be attached to the switchgear. Provide a strain relief segment to minimize the load on the bushings. Cables must be allowed to expand and flex without putting a significant load on the bushings. For a pit, either loop the cable in the pit or bring it into the pit horizontally and up to the gear at a 90-degree angle. Failure to follow these precautions can result in damage to the bushings and bushing wells and subsequent leakage of SF6 insulating gas. The tank is now ready to be grounded. Connect the cable concentric neutral ground wires to the grounding system as appropriate. Use the equivalent of 4/0 copper or cable sized in accordance with your company's standard practice in either a single or multiple connection to realize the maximum momentary rating of the switchgear. For a multiple connection, cables smaller than 1/0 copper or equivalent should not be used. The enclosure can now be placed. Lift the enclosure into place over the tank with the termination side of the enclosure over the terminations and the operation side over the operation side of the tank. With the covers removed, the operation compartment is a side with a larger opening. This will ensure that the compartments are properly identified and the panels are in their correct locations. Always refer to the catalog dimensional drawing for the correct placement of the enclosure over the tank. Make sure the enclosure is properly aligned with the anchor bolts, then slowly lower the enclosure into place. Now, secure the enclosure to the pad using the anchor brackets provided. Fault indicators are to be furnished by the user and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Optional mounting provisions for fault indicators are available for pad-mounted style switchgear. If mounting provisions are specified, mount the fault indicators on the mounting brackets and attach the associated sensors to the cables below the cable terminations. Now that the enclosure is installed, connect the ground pad inside the enclosure to the system ground facility in accordance with the user's standard grounding practice. Follow the same cable guidelines as described earlier for grounding the tank. For a multiple connection, cables smaller than 1/0 copper or equivalent should not be used. A resilient closed cell gasket on the bottom flange of the enclosure protects the finish from being scratched during installation and isolates it from the alkalinity of a concrete foundation. This gasket also helps to seal the enclosure to the foundation, to guard against entry of rodents, insects, or weeds, and to discourage tampering. In the event the gasket cannot compensate for an uneven foundation, grout the bottom of the enclosure as necessary. Any grout applied should be recessed enough to permit caulking. To complete the installation, caulk around the bottom of the enclosure. A weatherproof temperature vulcanizing silicone rubber compound is recommended. Apply a suitable compound to fill the spaces between the cable and the conduit, and cap all empty conduits to prevent the entry of moisture and rodents. Now, reinstall the front panel of the operation compartment and the upper front panel of the termination compartment. These panels are not interchangeable. Lower the hinged roofs and secure them with the pentahead bolts. Then insert a padlock into each hasp. With the installation complete, wipe down the exterior of the enclosure with a clean, damp cloth. Refinish any scratches or abrasions with S&C Touch-Up Finish Red Oxide Primer. Order catalog number 9999058 for olive green finish, 9999080 for light gray finish, and 9999061 for red oxide primer. No other finish or primer is approved. The area to be touched up should be cleaned to remove all oil and grease. sand the area to remove any traces of rust that may be present, and make sure that all edges are feathered before applying primer. The installation is now complete. See the written instructions for dielectric testing information. We hope you found this video informative. If you have any questions, please visit our website at sandc.com.